So there's a ton of things that go into the financial plan, and it may seem like, oh, it's just a financial plan, but there's really a lot of thought and a process that goes into constructing one and also maintaining the plan.
Welcome to the Financial Foundations Podcast, your gateway to the fascinating realm of finance, brought to you by Base Wealth Management. In this show, we delve deep into the world of money, guided by seasoned experts who will unravel the complexities of finance and provide you with invaluable insights and practical advice. Now, here are your hosts, Dustin Taylor and Alex Wolfe.
Welcome back to the Financial Foundations Podcast, brought to you by Base Wealth Management, where we are the foundation to your financial plan. I'm your host, Dustin Taylor.
I'm your co-host, Alex Wolfe, certified financial planner.
And today we're going to talk about financial plans. I think that the financial industry can be confusing from the outside looking in. You have financial planner, financial advisor, you got wealth management. What exactly does it all mean? So Alex, can you explain to the audience what is a financial plan?
Yeah, I think you already hit a couple of things. It can be very daunting, and there's a lot of jargon or terms used in our industry, and it can be very confusing from the outside and even on the inside. So glad we're covering this on today's episode. So when you think about a financial plan, we start with working with a client or a prospective client and understanding their financial picture and their goals. And you can kind of start to work backward on looking at what they have saved up across all their accounts, from savings, checking, brokerage. Even we're going to cost a lot of people that have CDs floating out there at various different banks. Did they do I-bonds, et cetera? I'm getting into the weeds. I'll back out a minute. And then what they have in retirement accounts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, workplace retirement accounts like 401ks, and then help kind of simplify their picture and show them like, okay, here's what you have on paper and here are your goals. And then we start to kind of mesh things together on how they can get from A to B. And I think of us more as like a guide. Like if you're hiking up a mountain, your guide's going to say, okay, these are the paths to get there. If you go down this path, this is what could happen. Or if you go down this other path, this is what may happen or what will happen. And we want to help them get to their goal, but not necessarily be prescriptive like a doctor.
Right. Okay. I've heard the term goals-based financial planning before, but those goals don't just have to be retirement goals, correct? They could be anywhere in your life.
Yeah, correct. These goals can be anything. They're typically larger items, from anything from purchasing a boat, a car, a vacation home, your retirement home, a wedding. Do you have goals of giving a certain amount to charities per year, saving for a child or grandchild's college education? You name it, it can pretty much be a goal.
And then kind of on the flip side of it, speaking about retirement, if a client or a prospective client wanted to tell you that they want to have $10,000 a month in today's dollars in retirement, that's also something you can plan for, whether there's other goals included or not, right?
There definitely is. And we have advanced planning software that we use to help construct their financial plan and show them, based on your assets and the money you have saved, is $10,000 a month feasible, and what's the likelihood that you'll be able to live however many years in retirement off $10,000, or would that cause too much stress on their portfolio to be able to sustain that level of spending? And then there's other things to factor in. Does that include what they're going to get in Social Security? Do they have a pension? Other forms of income, could be an annuity, et cetera.
Okay. And I want to kind of zoom out before we dive in further. What is the difference in having a financial plan that helps you achieve your goals, whether that's in or out of retirement, versus just your standard wealth management?
So when you lead with a financial plan, you really kind of start to draw out your roadmap, and are there things to be doing along this financial journey, and what are those milestones? It's going to be things like when you get on Medicare, when to collect Social Security. There's so many other things that go in, as those examples illustrate, to a financial plan, where when you're just talking about wealth management, you're more of like portfolio construction and just talking more about like their investment portfolio, not so much like specific goals and details of our journey through retirement or whatever you're trying to accomplish.
And I remember back to the very first episode of Financial Foundations, we kind of highlighted your credentials, and not to shine too much light on you, but you are a certified financial planner. So this is kind of your specialty.
It is. So having taken the courses and studied for the exam really gives me a leg up in being an industry specialist or expert of helping clients construct a financial plan. And it's really intertwining everything together that I think working with someone who's a CFP makes a lot of sense. As I kind of touched on, like there's so many different things to think about from your tax strategy. Are you thinking about your estate plan correctly? Do you need to work with an attorney? We can help educate them on things to think about and also refer them to CPA or an estate planning attorney. And also doing an analysis on what's the best way to maximize your Social Security. What does healthcare look like for you if you retire early before you can get on Medicare? So those are the things that someone who's CFP will think about. So I encourage people who are interviewing or looking for a financial professional to find a true fiduciary where they have a legal obligation to put your interests ahead of their own, where if they're trading in your account, they're not earning a commission, but when they recommend something, it's truly in the client's best interest.
And would you agree that having a financial plan versus just wealth management, that financial plan would be more holistic of your whole situation?
It definitely is. As I mentioned, you may have specific short, medium, and long-term goals, and your financial planner will help you figure out the right places to save and invest to help you accomplish those goals and look at it with a specific lens holistically.
Okay, and maybe it's from reading specific books on taxes and retirement and things like unexpected tax time bombs and stuff like that, but there's also a way for financial planners to take into account taxes and retirement to make sure that you're not paying those unnecessary taxes. I know I mention taxes all the time, but it's one of the favorite topics here because I hate paying taxes.
You're not alone. Taxes come up all the time when working with clients and prospective clients, as most people don't want to overpay for taxes. Or to me, you want to know like your tax dollars are hard at work when paying taxes, but also that you're not paying like more than your fair share. So there are tax strategies that we can use as a financial planner to help show you and illustrate where your asset location is. And what I mean by that is like, here's how much you have in tax deferred accounts, like retirement accounts. Here's what you have in what we call taxable accounts, like brokerage accounts. And if you need a specific income, what's the optimal mix of how much to take out of retirement accounts that are taxed at income tax rates versus selling brokerage assets that are taxed at capital gains rates, and everything in between. And then how to make sure that those are all invested properly. So there's a ton of things that go into the financial plan, and it may seem like, oh, it's just a financial plan, but there's really a lot of thought and a process that goes into constructing one and also maintaining the plan.
If there's one thing that I've learned in my 38 years of living, that is that plans very often do not work. So how do you account for that? How do you test your plans and make sure that the clients and people that you're making them for are going to work out when they retire?
That can be very difficult, especially if you're working with someone who has a goal and you have to be the one to kind of tell them, based on your current situation, you may not be able to get there. That's a tough conversation, but one that we have to have from time to time. And then it comes with like, okay, these are the recommended changes. Based on what you told me, based on your specific situation, this is what you need to do to increase your probability of being able to accomplish your goal or goals. And with a plan that may not work, we've seen that tick up, specifically when in our planning software, we increased the average inflation rate from 2 to 2.5. And people often say, well, inflation was more than 2.5%. True. But as we've seen, it's coming back down, but we were still being very conservative in case inflation was much more sticky, and we averaged 2.5% for the next 10 to 20 years versus our previous average of 2%, you started to see more plans not work. So then you have to help them decide of ways to increase their probability of success to get their plan back on track.
Right. So in my experience, from what I've seen, you're able to take that plan and then insert various variables, like you can increase or decrease the expected inflation to make sure it will still work. And then you'll be able to use your expertise to identify a probability, but also you can see what kind of benefits there would be if you worked an extra 2 years, if you retired at 67 instead of 65, or you worked less years and see would it still work out? Is that enough money for you, et cetera? And that's actually a question that I have. Whenever I started hearing about financial plans and wealth management, I was always instructed to pay attention to my financial plan being in today's dollars. With the software that you use, you can account for that and make sure that even though your amount may be different when you retire, it's going to be what you want in today's dollars. Is that right?
That's correct. So in that inflation assumption where I mentioned we bumped it from 2 to 2.5. So if you're 10 years from retirement, you want $10,000 in today's dollars. That's factoring in that 2.5% inflation rate per year, every year for the rest of your plan. So yes, that's in today's dollars. Because if you put it into future dollars, that $10,000 is more like, I don't know, $8,000, $8,500, however many years you are from retirement, but it's definitely less. But you want that much in today's dollars, if that makes sense to our listeners.
The next thing that I want to talk about is we kind of already mentioned that financial planning versus just wealth management is more holistic. Talking about that, can you tell us how financial planning is more holistic? What can you do to make it more holistic?
One thing that I always stress is like a client or prospective client's financial plan is only as good as the level of detail they give us or we have. So if they're only giving us half of their picture and they've got outside accounts that they didn't come forth with, or even if we're not managing them, but that we have an updated statement to be able to incorporate it in their plan, that's what we need. We need like the most high level of detail to be able to accurately show them their holistic plan. And we now have various ways of doing that and capturing those outside accounts by linking them in our software. We can manage your 401ks using a software that gives us full access to be able to trade on them to help manage them. And then just aggregating from a simplicity standpoint, to me, there's not a lot of logical reasons to be keeping assets at different places. People always try to say, well, you don't want to keep all your eggs in one basket. Well, you're actually opening up yourself to more possibilities of like cyber attacks by having 10 different accounts spread across 10 different places, where the likelihood of them tapping into one place is much less likely. And I know that you can't necessarily bring everything over. There may be specific reasons that you have it at a certain place, but at least let your financial planner know what those accounts are, how they're titled. Like if you're doing some like deep estate planning dives, you want to help understand how those accounts are titled. If they have a trust account, are those still in their individual names? Do they need to update the beneficiaries? There's a lot of different things to think about.
Wow. So we have covered quite a lot about financial planning. We've established that financial planning is different than just wealth management and that it's more holistic. It tends to be goals-based. So if you have a particular goal, then you may need a financial plan. And it doesn't have to be a retirement goal. It can be, as you mentioned, buying a house, buying a car, wanting to live in Italy for years, whatever it is. You may need a financial plan for that. So if you have goals like that, we definitely encourage everyone to reach out to their financial planner.
Yeah, or if you've never worked with a financial planner, but you want to.
And if you're interested in seeing kind of what a brief financial plan looks like, you can click a link below in the description. You'll see a video of Alex explaining a financial plan and seeing if $2 million is enough to retire on. And if you'd like any other information, you can visit our website at basewealthmanagement.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or continue to listen to this podcast.
Definitely. And if you have any questions, we love new scenarios or questions to answer on the podcast. You can send those to us at question@basewealthmanagement.com. And don't forget to keep listening to us on your favorite podcast listening app.
I'm Dustin Taylor.
I'm Alex Wolfe.
And happy listening.
We hope the expertise shared by our hosts, Dustin Taylor and Alex Wolfe, has left you feeling empowered and informed. If you're eager for more financial wisdom, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, stay sharp in the world of finance.